Hello, and welcome to my Assignment 1 Unit 2 Muscular System PowerPoint. There are 7 functions of the muscular system, first being movement. Your skeletal muscles are responsible for the movements you make. Skeletal muscles are attached to your bones and partly controlled by the central nervous system. You use your skeletal muscles whenever you move. Fast twitch skeletal muscles cause short bursts of speed and strength. However, slow twitch muscles function better for longer movements. The second one is breathing. Your diaphragm is the main muscle at work during quiet breathing. Heavier breathing, like you do when you exercise, may require accessory muscles to help out the diaphragm. The muscles can include the neck, the abdominals, and the back muscles. When your lungs expand, they pull air into the body, and when they compress, they expel carbon dioxide. Lungs do not have muscles to pump air in and out. The third function of the muscular system is constriction of blood vessels. They contract at a slow pace to manage flow of blood. It will control bleeding, if there is any, as the blood vessel will close up. This will happen when there has been a broken bone or a cut on the body, for example. It's called vasoconstriction, and that is the narrowing of the blood vessels resulting from contraction of the muscular wall of the vessels. When blood vessels constrict, the flow of blood is restricted, thus retaining body heat or increasing vascular resistance. Vasoconstriction is a normal process which helps keep your body in healthy balance. Vasoconstriction may occur to stabilize blood pressure or raise blood pressure, reduce loss of body heat in cold temperatures, control how blood is distributed throughout your body, send more nutrients and oxygen to organs that need them, protect your body against blood and fluid loss. However, on the other hand, abnormal vasoconstriction can trigger some health conditions. This includes high blood pressure and headache pain. In some cases, too much blood vessel narrowing can be a side effect of drugs and foods, such as caffeine and salt. Now the fourth function of the muscular system is heat production. Skeletal muscle accounts for at least 40% of body mass and is the muscle type responsible for generating the most body heat. Almost 85% of the heat a person generates in their body comes from contracting muscles. When the body heat falls below optimal levels, the skeletal muscles increase their activity to make heat. This is done by shivering. Body temperature can be brought back within normal range through the relaxation of smooth muscles in the blood vessels. This action increases blood flow and releases excess heat through the skin. Heart contraction is the fifth function of the muscular system, and heart contraction is called systole. In systole phase, ventricles contract and pump blood out of the heart to the arteries. There is a phase of relaxation that occurs with the heart as well, which is called diastole. In diastole, the heart ventricles are relaxed and the heart fills with blood. One cardiac cycle is completed when the heart chambers fill with blood and the blood is pumped out from the heart to the rest of the body. Posture is controlled by your skeletal muscles. Flexibility and strength are keys to maintaining proper posture. Stiff neck muscles, weak back muscles, or tight hip muscles are things that can throw off your alignment. Poor posture can affect parts of your body and lead to joint pain and weaker muscles. These parts include the shoulders, spine, hips, and knees. Communication is the final function of the muscular system, and communication is when impulses are sent to muscles around the mouth and throat to get them to contract and relax. Your voice is created from vibrations in your throat for your voice box, and your mouth and tongue will make the sounds we call words. Now moving on to the characteristics of the muscles. There are 4 of these: excitability, extensibility, contractility, and elasticity. In excitability, the cells must be stimulated, most often by the nerve supplying them, in order for the muscle to contract and do work. Nervous impulses cause a release of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine at the nerve-muscle conjunction. Acetylcholine activates receptors on the surface of the muscle. This results in an influx of positively charged sodium ions into the muscle cell and depolarization of the muscle cell membrane, which in the resting state is quite negatively charged. If the membrane becomes sufficiently depolarized, an action potential results. The muscle cell is then excited from an electrochemical standpoint. As we move on to extensibility, you can see that I've written on the PowerPoint, it stretches 3 times beyond its resting length. Most of your body's cells lack the capacity to stretch. Attempting to do so only damages or destroys them. Your long cylindrical muscle cells, however, are a different story. Muscle cells contract, and in order for them to retain this ability, they must accordingly possess extensibility or the capacity to lengthen. Your muscle cells can be stretched about 3 times their contracted length without rupturing, like I've already said above. This is important because in a lot of coordinated movements, so-called antagonistic muscles operate such that one is lengthening while the other is contracting. For example, when you run, the hamstring in the back of your thigh contracts while your quadriceps are extended. For contractility, muscle cells contract when stimulated by neural input. Smooth and cardiac muscles do not require this input. When a muscle cell is excited, The impulse travels along various membranes of the cell to its interior, where it leads to the opening of calcium channels. Calcium ions flow toward and bind to a protein molecule called troponin, leading to sequential changes in shape and position of the associated proteins trypomyosin, myosin, and actin. The upshot that is myosin binds to small strands within the cell called myofilaments and pulls them along, causing the cell to shorten or contract. Since this is going on simultaneously in a coordinated fashion in many thousands of myocytes at the same time, the muscle as a whole contracts. When something is described as elastic, this means that it can be stretched or contracted by some amount above or below its resting or default length without damaging it, and that it will return to its resting length once the stimulus for stretching or contracting is removed. Your muscles require the property of elastic recoil for them to be able to do their jobs. If, say, your bicep brachii fail to recoil to their resting length after being stretched during a series of curling exercises, they become slack, and slack muscles with no tension are unable to generate any force and therefore useless as levers. There are three types of muscle tissue: the cardiac muscle tissue, the smooth muscle tissue, and the skeletal muscle tissue. The cardiac muscle, also called the heart muscle or myocardium, is obviously one of three types of muscle types. Obviously the other two being skeletal and smooth muscles. The cardiac muscle is an involuntary striated muscle that constitutes the main tissue of the walls of the heart. This type of tissue is only found in the heart. Highly coordinated contractions of cardiac muscle pump blood into the vessels of the circulatory system. Similar to the skeletal muscle, which I'll move on to, cardiac muscle is striated and organized into sarcomeres, possessing the same banding organization as skeletal muscle. However, cardiac muscle fibers are shorter than skeletal muscle fibers and usually only contain one nucleus, which is located in the central region of the cell. Cardiac muscle fibers also possess many mitochondria and myoglobin, as ATP is produced primarily through aerobic metabolism. Cardiac muscle fibers are also extensively branched and are connected to one another at their ends by intercalated discs. An intercalated disc allows the cardiac muscle cells to contract in a wave-like pattern so that the heart can work as a pump. Smooth muscle, so named because the cells do not have striations, is present in the walls of hollow organs like the urinary bladder, uterus, stomach, intestines, and in the walls of passageways such as arteries and veins of the circulatory system. Smooth muscle is also present in the eyes, where it functions to change the size of the iris and alter the shape of the lens. It is also present in the skin, where it causes hair to stand erect in response to cold temperature or fear, commonly known as the goosebumps. Smooth muscle, also called involuntary muscle that shows no cross stripes under microscopic magnification. It consists of narrow spindle shaped like cells with a single centrally located nucleus. Smooth muscle tissue, unlike striated muscle, contracts slowly and automatically. The best known feature of skeletal muscle is the ability to contract and cause movement. Skeletal muscles act not only to produce movement, but also to stop movement, such as resisting gravity to maintain posture. Small, constant adjustments of the skeletal muscles are needed to hold a body upright or balance in any position. Muscles also prevent excess movement of the bones and joints, maintaining skeletal stability and preventing skeletal structure damage or deformation. Joints can become misaligned or dislocated entirely by pulling on the associated bones. Muscles work to keep joints stable. Skeletal muscles are located throughout the body at the openings of internal tracts to control the movement of various substances. These muscles allow functions such as swallowing, urination, and defecation to be under the voluntary control. Skeletal muscles also protect internal organs, particularly abdominal and pelvic organs, by acting as an external barrier or shield to external trauma by supporting the weight of the organs.